After days of rising tension, the latest exchanges have pushed the US-Iran conflict into its most volatile moment since the fragile April ceasefire. American forces have hurled waves of Tomahawk cruise missiles and deployed F-16 fighter jets against targets deep inside Iran, while Iranian forces have relied on the barrages of drone and ballistic missiles aimed at US bases scattered across the Gulf and Jordan. Well, the result is a day in which both sides are showcasing their most lethal tools, and the Gulf security architecture looks more fragile than ever before. So in this edition of From the News Desk, we will focus on the arsenal used by both Americans and Iranians in today's exchange of fire. And more importantly, we will tell you how lethal and capable these weapons are. In the early hours of 11th June, US Central Command confirmed a fresh round of self-defense strikes on Iranian territory, following back-to-back operations on 9th and 10th of June. Tomahawk cruise missiles were launched from US platforms to hit military infrastructure near Tehran and radar and air defense sites in southern Iran, with explosions reported around Bandar Abbas, Sirik, and Minab on the Gulf Coast. In fact, US officials framed the operation as punishment for the recent Iranian attacks on American forces and, more importantly, failing to reach an agreement with the United States of America. Well, Iran's response also came very swiftly. The Revolutionary Guard Corps and Iranian armed forces launched coordinated missiles and drone strikes against US-linked bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, describing them as retaliation for the latest US raids. In fact, air raid sirens sounded across Bahrain as residents were ordered into shelters, while Kuwaiti authorities reported intercepting incoming drones and missiles and temporarily closed their airspace. While Jordanian officials similarly reported shooting down several Iranian missiles before they reached US facility on their soil. Well, regional monitors say that across several days of exchanges, culminating in the 11th June strikes, Iran has claimed attacks on more than a dozen US or US-linked sites in the Gulf and Jordan, though many of its projectiles were intercepted. Even so, the repeated salvos have exposed the strain on air defense systems and underscored how quickly this conflict can broaden beyond the controlled pressure campaign. Now, at the heart of US strikes is Tomahawk cruise missile, a long-range, low-flying precision weapon designed to slip under radar and hit high-value targets with great accuracy. In fact, modern Tomahawk variants can fly more than 1,500 miles at roughly 550 miles per hour using satellite-assisted navigation and terrain matching systems to keep their flight path close to the ground and on course. Well, this makes them ideal for striking Iranian air defense radars, command centers, and other fixed military sites from ships and submarines far outside Iranian coastal waters. In fact, US officials and media reports say that across the 10th and 11th June wave, American forces fired dozens of Tomahawks, 49 missiles in just one phase alone against Iranian targets. The Pentagon also describes the objective as degrading Iran's surveillance, air defense, and command networks, a classic use case of cruise missiles that can arrive in coordinated waves for multiple targets. And the Pentagon describes the objectives as degrading Iran's surveillance, air defenses, and command networks, a classic use case for cruise missiles that can arrive in coordinated waves from multiple fronts. Now, alongside the cruise missile strikes, it seems F-16 jets have played a central role in the latest operation. The F-16 is a compact single-engine multi-role fighter which has the ability to conduct both air-to-air combat and precision strikes from air to ground. According to US Air Force data, the F-16 can fly more than 500 miles on a combat mission, deliver guided weapons with high accuracy in all weathers, and most importantly, defend itself against enemy aircraft before returning to the base. Well, in this very round of fighting, F-16 have been used to bomb radar sites, air defense batteries, and other Iranian military installations, while also patrolling the Gulf after the Tomahawk salvos. Now, Iranian media even claimed that the IRGC forces fired a surface-to-air missile at an F-16 over the Gulf, saying the jet was forced to change course, an illustration of how close these jets were operating to the Iranian defenses. Now, on the Iranian side, the most visible weapon in today's retaliation has been swarms of drones and barrage of short-range ballistic missiles launched towards US bases in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. Iranian officials and state media often highlight their homegrown Shahid series of kamikaze drones, which is a low-cost one-way attack system designed to fly long distance and crash into fixed targets. The Shahid 136, for example, is a loitering munition with a reported range in the order of 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers and a high explosive warhead, intended to overwhelm air defenses through massive launches rather than speed and stealth. Now let's talk about Iranian missile. Iran has not publicly specified which particular ballistic missiles was used in today's salvo, but its recent pattern points strongly towards the Fattah family, particularly Fattah 110 and Zulfagar variants that the IRGC has relied on throughout this very conflict with the United States. The Fattah 110 is a solid-fuel short-range ballistic missile with a range of roughly 200 to 300 kilometers, capable of carrying a conventional high-explosive warhead and striking tactical targets such as bases, depots, and command posts. On the other hand, the Zulfagar is an upgraded member of the same Fattah family, offering a reported range of about 700 kilometers and a warhead of roughly 500 to 580 kilograms, using inertia and satellite guidance for improved accuracy. Now, by combining Shahid drones and Fattah-type ballistic missiles, Iran is trying to saturate US and Gulf defenses from above and at range, forcing them to spend expensive interceptors like Patriots against comparatively cheap projectiles. Well, for now, US Central Command insists that most incoming missiles are being shot down, but as the exchanges of 11th June show, both sides are willing to keep firing and the Gulf remains on edge as this duel of arsenal intensifies. And with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of From the News Desk. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm Yash Goyal signing off for Times Now Digital. Until next time, take care and keep watching this space for more such videos.